All right, welcome everybody. True Wealth Investors Podcast. I am Chad Harris, and I am joined today with Arthur Solomon, my co-host of the Solomon Hustles podcast, and our guests, Dani, Lynn, and Flip Robinson, and from Freedom Real Estate Group. Really glad to have you all. Welcome, everybody.
We are excited to be here. Thank you both for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so Dani and Flip, normally when we have a guest, I give a little introduction as to what their business is and what they're doing. For you guys, I'm going to ask your help because you have so much going on. I know that a lot has changed even since we first talked. So Freedom Real Estate Group is kind of your umbrella, right?
Yes.
And how many businesses do you have under the Freedom Real Estate Group?
I would say if you count Freedom, 6 in total.
6 businesses. Okay. And is the primary focus of that flips and your flipping business?
Yes. So flips, turnkey rental, cash flowing properties, not only for us, but for our clients.
All right. And last time I think we talked, your target for this year was 100 flips. Is that still the target?
It is. It's been the target for 2019. This is our 3rd year. So we did 72 in 2019, 67 in 2020, and we're breaking it this year because we're on fire. So we're going to get past the 100.
2021 is the year.
It is.
Awesome.
We're excited.
And then recently you got into investing and buy and hold with apartments, right?
Yes, it was on accident, but I'm thrilled because I love it. It's the most exciting thing that we've ever done. We always wanted to do it. We were going to get into it in 2021, maybe 2022, but it just happened. We can talk about the story if you guys want to get into the story, but it happened. We bought it, and I just said, hey, full force ahead. Let's just do this thing. You know, as long as you surround yourself with the right people, you'll figure it out. And it's been great.
All right. So we're going to get into all the details of exactly what you've built, because your business is really amazing. And I'm not only inspired by that when I've talked with you, but also another thing I really respect about you is your transparency and the fact that you openly admit you didn't have it all figured out day one. This is something hard fought day in and day out that you've built over time. And I think that's reassuring for a lot of other investors because part of the business, there are a lot of headaches and struggles. So
For sure.
really appreciate you guys getting on and sharing what you've built over these years. So how did this get started? I mean, what was the beginning?
Well, in 2008, this is actually the true beginning. We were both doing jobs that neither one of us wanted to do anymore, and we knew we wanted to do something else. And we both looked at each other and said, you know what, let's do real estate. Because before that, I mean, we'd spent almost 10 years working on cruise ships. And so we're like, we're going to do real estate. And we both went out, studied, got our real estate license, and we got our license in September of 2008. The worst time to get your real estate license. And so we're like, and they said, okay, well, no problem. You're brand new realtors. Go out and, network and go start with your family and friends, and if they want to buy or sell their house. Well, we just had moved to Austin, Texas, because we'd been on cruise ships for 10 years. So we didn't know anybody. And there was only like 4 or 5 members of my family. So again, we're under the gun. Thankfully, we found somebody within the first 6 months of getting our license, and we were able to help them find a house. So we had closed 1 deal in 8 months. So we were just chipping away at everything we saved up from working on cruise ships for 10 years. And at that point, that's when we went, you know what, this sucks. And so she reached out to a couple of real estate investing coaches, and she reached, I think, out to 3 of them, and one actually contacted her back. And we immediately went to him, and we studied with him, and we learned 12 ways on how to make money in real estate investing. And we're not typical students. We jumped in with both feet and we hit the ground, and we did everything he said, and we started getting deals left and right. And he was like, wow, nobody does this. And so then, so not only then he took us under his arm, but he actually started taking us with him when he would travel around the country talking about his programs. He's like, and here's 2 of my star students. They can tell you exactly what they're doing. And so we learned all the different strategies right from the beginning, which is great because every situation lends to a different type of investing. So when we were in Texas, we mainly did
Subject
to wraps.
Mhm.
That was our bread and butter while we were there. We didn't have to do wholesaling because people were handing us their keys. It was very easy. But then we moved to Phoenix, and in Phoenix, that not so much, but you could throw a rock and hit a wholesale house, and so we went into wholesaling. And so it was being the chameleon of real estate investors and knowing what to do and where you're at. And then while we were in Phoenix, we heard about doing turnkey properties, and we're like, that's not one of the 12. What is this? And it hit us because when we were doing cruise ships, we liked building up clients. We like saying, "Oh, hey, Joe, come on back." We get to know them and we get to interact with our clients. But as real estate investors, you don't get to do that. But with turnkey investing, you do get to do that, because when Joe buys one house, you want Joe to like it so much that Joe comes back and buys 4 or 5 more. And so we're like, this is brilliant. And there was no question. We both just ran at that 100 miles an hour, and we haven't turned back since.
And that's why we're in Ohio.
And that's why you can't do this in Arizona.
So what is the connection to Ohio? How did the turnkey bring you to Ohio?
All you.
Oh, well, so there was another investor here in Middletown, actually, and Dani had created this group on Facebook, shocker, right? and about people who do a lot of deals. And so she started talking to him, and he's like, you know what? If you guys were in Ohio, we could do more deals. And he kept saying it. Well, I was born in Ohio. I lived in Michigan. I went to Michigan State. This is my backyard. She's born and raised in Phoenix, so she had never seen snow, right? And so he kept saying it. We're like, you know what? Let's just do it. This is what we want to do. We love this strategy. So let's just do it. And so we packed up the truck and moved across the country we actually moved to Bellbrook. When we first moved here, sight unseen, rented a house without even seeing it. I'm driving down the street going, "Oh, I hope we like this house." No idea. And so, and then we got here. Well, because I was in the backyard in Arizona. Well, it's not really yard; it's AstroTurf. But I was walking around on the AstroTurf in the backyard, talking to a guy in New Hampshire about a property in Dayton that I'd never seen, and selling him that house. So I'm like, this is brilliant. It's going to be even better when I get to see the houses. And so that's why Dayton, here we go.
I don't like the snow, just for the record.
She did the first time. That very first snow, she was like up against the window going, "This is awesome," but then never since.
It was short-lived.
Yeah, it was.
Just curious, what part of Phoenix were you guys in?
We were actually in a small town on the north side of Phoenix called Anthem. I'm trying to think of the builder. There's a builder, a house builder, who just basically built a town in 1999, and they called it Anthem. And there's like a rich part, and then there's we always called it the slum part. The houses were only $300,000, but it was just a little town north of Phoenix. So you had this small town feel, but you were right next to Phoenix.
I used to live in Scottsdale myself when we first immigrated to the States.
Love Scottsdale.
That's where, Scottsdale was like 20 minutes away, because just you go to the 10 and go north on the 10, there's Anthem.
Wow.
Sure.
A little bit different price range, Phoenix than Dayton.
Exactly.
Get a lot more bang for your buck here in Ohio.
That's why we moved.
Yeah, the first property I sold was $54,000, and I'm like, is that the garage? What is this? Come on.
So
awesome.
What did people, the people that you were telling you were going to move to Dayton, you were going into turnkey, family, friends, what did they think? Were they supportive? Think you were crazy? What was that like?
Gosh, I'm going to say crazy. I think they've always thought we were crazy. Not having a normal 9-to-5 job and security and, certainty, all of those things, being an entrepreneur at all. All of our families are 9-to-5ers. They have jobs. They know that they've got a W-2, they've got a paycheck, they've got everything else that gives them the certainty that so many people want. And we are the exact opposite. I might have dragged him a little bit to my side of the world, but I'm definitely the exact opposite. I don't want to be stuck in a job, and I want to do anything that I'm capable of doing based on my abilities and belief that I can get there. They think we're crazy. That's the short answer.
Yeah, we both went to college as musicians, and we played professionally. That's how we actually met.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were originally just venturers, travelers, and then when we got into real estate in the around 2008 area, my family's just like, oh, they're in real estate. Okay, great. That's I'm like, we're not even going to explain this to you. Just don't even worry about it. And still to this day, every so often when I talk to my mom, did you sell a house today, honey? It's sure did, mom. And so we just don't even go there. Yeah.
So did you feel the urge to want to try and explain it, or you were okay, just you're going to be you, and they don't need to understand exactly what you do?
I have explained it to my mom now. My mom gets it because my mom loves to see the pictures on Facebook about, our office and our employees. And so I've explained it to my mom. I could honestly tell you that my brother and sister probably have no idea what we do. And I'm cool with that. So, my mom knows and she's happy, and, that's all. All that matters is that we're happy and we're taking care. We're starting to take care of people now. And so that's all that matters.
Yeah. Awesome.
I agree. Same with my family. Yeah. I answer their questions as they have them, but I don't assume that they really want to know all the intricacies of, real estate and the stories that come with it. They are always surprised by Facebook posts because, as you guys know, I'm very transparent. And we make mistakes. I'm happy to say I screwed up and here's the story. So they're just like, oh my goodness, are you okay? And it's like, yeah, it's fine. This is part of the real estate world.
Yeah, probably one of the only things that I probably will never explain to my family is property management. Yeah, I'll just, you own a property management company? Mm-hmm. I'm not going on from there.
You can tell stories for days about that, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes, every day.
So once you moved to Ohio, you focused on the turnkey and really liked that. Kind of go into what is that model? How is that model different from a typical flip model? What exactly is the turnkey?
Yeah, so your exit strategy is really the difference. You're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to find a property. You're going to rehab the property. Now, what are you going to do with that property? Usually you would throw it on the MLS and sell it to an owner occupant. In this case, we were very specific in our rehab standards. It's here in Ohio, our standards for rental, honestly, we can do a rental standard property and still sell retail at top dollar just because we do that. So the real true change is who are we selling it to? Who's that end buyer? And that end buyer for us is really us. When we were in Texas and Arizona, where we want to buy this 50, 60, 70, $80,000 house, sometimes 120, have that 1% rent to purchase price ratio. They just can't get it out there, in all of those other states. So most of I would say almost 100% of our clients are out of state people who, want to take advantage of the purchasing power we have here.
Interesting. And so, with the MLS, it's easy to market. That's the whole, system. With your model, how did you find those initial buyers, or how do you find your clientele to start building that group that you're selling to?
Sure. So we worked with other investors who educate people about this type of strategy. There's turnkey companies everywhere. Not all of them are great. So these educators will find the good turnkey company vendors, vet them themselves, and ultimately say, hey, this is an opportunity for you that are living in New York and Florida and Texas and Arizona and California. You want a property like this that's got cash flow, that has the numbers that you're all looking for. These are the places that you can buy them. These are the vendors that we've vetted and that you can work with. That's how we built everything. We only wanted to focus on finding, rehabbing, and renting, and let somebody else tap into their database of people who are looking for that, and then, bring them to us. And so now we are organically growing that buyer database just because we've been around a long time and we're doing things like this with you guys. But that's how we started, for sure.
That's sharp. I like that you leveraged other people's networks and other connections. When you got started in real estate, you leveraged coaches and what they've learned. And so, yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah, I love surrounding myself. We talked about this before we started the live show here, right? That we love surrounding ourselves with people, good people that we can learn from. Chad and Arthur, you guys know stuff that we don't know. So when I have a question, I ask, people like you and the people I surround myself with, and I build those groups so that I can leverage your knowledge so that I don't have to experience all the pain that you've already gone through. You can help.
And likewise, contribute what you know, because I like benefiting from what you know as well.
For sure.
So with, starting and saying you want to build a turnkey business to having 6 businesses and all of your employees and systems in place, what was that process like? I mean, how do you go from day one wanting to build this business to where you are today?
That's a great question. So I'll do the fast version. Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You guys don't want to be here for 2 hours. So, so Freedom Real Estate Group was the main brand, but we had to have the renovation team to be able to rehab the houses that we were buying. So we did make a mistake right up front, allowing Freedom to be the one hiring the contractors, the one buying the property, because what happens when you have a bad contractor? Well, then the neighbor next door wants to call and figure out who the owner is and complain about that bad contractor. Suddenly we went, ooh, people can find us online. This is our main brand, the brand that we don't want tarnished in any way, shape, or form. They can find us online. They can complain. So when we got that call, we went out, we fixed the problem, and quickly created a couple of entities to buy properties in. So it's that entity, still us being called, but it's not tarnishing Freedom Real Estate Group. If something happens that's completely out of our control, right? A contractor does something, there's a complaint, we have to go fix it, but we don't want Freedom being affected. And then same thing for Freedom hiring contractors. We wanted the same situation where you guys know, if you've hired contractors, that sometimes there's very bad stories and very bad people out there.
No, that doesn't sound like any contractors I've dealt with.
So I don't want them going after our main brand either. So we built Bulldog Renovations to hire the project manager, to hire the rehab coordinator, hire anybody that works for that company that hires the contractors. So if there's issues, it's that entity and not our main brand. So that was company number 2 that we never realized we were going to create officially, but we had to through that experience, through making that mistake and learning. We created entity number 2. Then entity number 3 was the property management company that we were going to create this year officially, but we had to do it early because we tried outsourcing to 5 other property management companies in the area. All of them were really, really bad. The most recent one before we created our own, there was property mismanagement, financial mismanagement. It was a horror story, and we were losing clients. When you work really hard to have a great product, a great reputation, and you lose your clients because of somebody else, as furious. I was like, no more. So we brought it all in-house, and we started that last year. Yeah, last year. So property management accidentally happened. 2019.
Fall.
Okay.
Before
So
COVID.
almost 2 years now we've had property management. So that was it was a necessity to build it in order to keep, our company rolling and keep our clients happy and be able to control the situation. Because property management is one of those businesses that there's going to be things that go wrong. Just like real estate, there's always going to be something behind a wall that you're going to figure out later. You have to know that up front, but now we can control it, right? If something goes wrong, we can jump in and fix it and not worry about somebody else not fixing it. So that was company number 3. Because we created a property management company, we had to have a broker. We had to do all the work to get there. So we said, why not have a brokerage? So now anything that we throw in the MLS, we can just have our own agents doing it and keep that money in-house. So that was company number 5. And then C4H, tell them why you created C4H.
Yeah, so in 2017 and 18, all of our deals came from wholesalers. And so because we weren't actively marketing, I was just talking to wholesalers and getting deals from wholesalers. And then all of a sudden, and I think it was 2018, just all of a sudden, nobody had any deals. Just the well dried up, and every wholesaler I talked to didn't have a deal. And I'm like, yikes, And so we said, you know what, we need to create an acquisitions team and company. And so that's when we created Cash for All Houses. And so that's been going now. I think it was summer 2018, or 19. I can't remember now. 2019, okay. Summer of 2019 is when we started Cash for All Houses. So now we're doing the marketing. I'm still getting deals from wholesalers. We got one yesterday. And so I'm still talking to wholesalers. I'm still getting deals in, but we also got, I think we got 10 under contract yesterday. One was from a wholesaler. The other 9 were our marketing. And so we're still doing other deals, but I'm not relying on wholesalers anymore.
So it's another one built out of necessity. That's really how we've grown, is we had to do it. Otherwise, no deals means no Freedom Real Estate Group. Yeah. So, and then our last company we just created, not out of necessity, because we were doing our first syndication. So we just created, it's actually in the process. It's our baby that's being developed right now. Freedom Capital Group. Our attorney's working on the LLC and all the other stuff. So that's company number 6. And my team is telling me to stop. I said, just stop. Let's just build these.
I don't know if stop's in your nature. That might be a losing battle for your team. So that's sharp. I like how each business kind of just came up when you reached that next threshold and saw this need.
Yes.
And yeah, that's great. Because I think for me, even where I'm at, I've achieved some level of success, but I don't see all the things that I will need 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
Right.
So you don't have to have it all figured out from day one. You just have to push until the next need arises.
That's right. That's great wisdom right there. And so many people are scared to start because they think they need to have everything perfect from day one. I mean, it's just not true. Just go one step at a time. You'll figure it out.
All right.
What's your guys' team? Obviously, when you guys got started, it was likely just you guys, right? But now you've got all these 6 businesses and all these wheels are turning. How many people do you have in place now to be able to make sure the acquisition and sales and all these things go smoothly and everything is done properly?
Yeah, that's another thing that hits on Chad's point of don't think that you have to have it all figured out right away. Hire each person as you need each person. And what I've learned as we've grown was hire them a little bit before you need them, because hiring and training is one of the hardest parts of any business. Cost of turnover, one of the biggest pains of any business, because it slows you down to be, have to go back into the hiring and training mode. So being in that position to be able to have the time to hire and train before you need that person has been a big learning lesson that we've probably just in the last year we've gotten really, really good at. But we just hired one person at a time based on what we needed. And we did put people cross, through, as each company, you sometimes work for Freedom and Bulldog, and then sometimes you work for Freedom, Bulldog, and Independence Property Management. And sometimes, some of our guys work for all 6 companies, quite frankly. So we've just been able to tap into what's your capacity, what's your knowledge, what's the right seat, right person, what are your skill sets, strengths, and we kind of figure it out as we go. We have over 30, I would say half of them are VAs in the Philippines. And so we have a really strong culture that incorporates them into our everyday meetings, into our fun. We're having an Easter egg hunt on Friday. They're going to be voting for who's going to find the most eggs or something. And they're going to be watching and rooting everybody on. It's crazy. It's been a lot of trial and error to figure out how to incorporate the virtual and in the office team, but it's been fun.
That's sharp. So I've never done a true virtual overseas VA. Do you go through an agency? How do you find a really effective VA?
So yes, agencies are available and likely the easier route, because they will go and find the good candidates. And some agencies will even go to the extent of training them in the field that you want. So you can go find I can't remember, Planet Synergy, as an example, is a company who trains VAs from the Philippines in property management. Some of them know Buildium, some of them know Appfolio, they're trained. So you tell them, this is the system that we use, this is the role that we need. They have somebody that already knows that system and is good in that role. You hire them. You pay them a little bit more than what you would pay if you did a direct hire. And I'll talk about that next. But it's worth it because you didn't have to, they already had the person, they already trained them. So you just have somebody that you can now insert into your company. And I want to say that's probably $9 or $10 an hour is what you're going to probably pay a VA through an agency. And then if you go to onlinejobs.ph, that is Philippine job website. So you can do a direct hire. And that's how I would say over 80% of our hires are from that website. And so we will hire them. We'll do an interview just like we hire here. There's an ad. We ask them to do a video so that we can see how do you speak, because if we're hiring a lead intake person for acquisitions, we want them to speak good English. So we want to hear them, and so it depends on the role as to what the process is, but they create a video and then we go through the same process we would for hiring, and then you're going to pay anywhere from $4 to $6 an hour depending on the role, for that person. You just do the harder work of the hiring and the training.
Sure. So with a VA, with those VAs, do you have to employ full-time, part-time? Is it flexible? It's just between you and them?
Yeah,
How's it-
so I will say there's a rule. This is something I learned from the VAs themselves.
Okay.
They kind of have a rule that never worked for one employer, ever, because you just risk putting all of your eggs in one basket. When people are hiring VAs, many times it's new, it's for the first time. They don't know if it's going to work. Some people don't know how to communicate virtually and train somebody virtually. So it's a very risky thing for them to be working for US employers or just another, out of country employer who may not be experienced in it. So the reason I learned that is because a lot of our VAs are now full-time, and they've said, my eggs are all in your basket because we've seen you, we've worked with you, we love you, we're going to be here forever, and you're the type, you've built a culture that we actually trust, that we can grow with this company and keep on rising. Because even one of our VAs that has been in the longest, he's now like a head of a department. He hires other VAs, he supervises them. So we've just built a environment that we don't care that you're in the Philippines, we're going to treat you the same way we treat our own team.
Yeah, we built up the culture here, not only within the office, of wanting them to enjoy this job. We want people to want to work here and want to be begging us, knocking on our door, can we work for you? And so we built up that culture from the very beginning, but we've extended it to our VAs right from the beginning. And so these guys, they start working for us and they're just like, nobody's ever done this. And so they actually created a video of all of them, just them, as like a 4-minute video or whatever, just their experiences with this company, and that we actually use that for our job place or whatever job interviews. And actually the girl who just joined us, she actually joined us because of that video, and they're just like, we're not going anywhere. We're staying here. The one guy that she's talking about, he's now a supervisor. He's like, I'm going to stay here for 30 years. I'm going to retire with Fred.
That's huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's loyalty right there.
Yeah, exactly right.
For $6 an hour.
Jeez, they're living like kings over there in Philippines.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, actually, we created part of our culture. There's our company holidays. There's right now in this part of the year, it's between holidays is so long, so we decided to put a company holiday in the middle. And so next Friday it's called the Freedom Real Estate Group holiday, a day off or whatever. And so all of the VAs in the Philippines had made plans for the last 3 or 4 weeks to all actually go to one place and meet. But they got locked down, so they can't even do it.
Yeah.
We'll just have to share some virtual cake.
Yeah.
we actually, that's funny. We actually do virtual happy hours with them. We actually do, whenever we do lunches and stuff here at the office, we've got cameras on so they can watch us and take part as well. So they're a part of everything we do.
How neat.
That is, yeah, that's really sharp. I love the company culture. It sounds like you've developed, and not only having it in person, but online overseas. That's amazing.
You had actually, we had talked previously about scaling, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote that as one of my notes, is the culture, because biggest expense in business is turnover. The biggest thing that takes the longest amount of time is hiring and training. So if you can build a culture where people want to stay with you forever, your ability to scale just skyrocketed. So I don't think a lot of people understand that piece as much as they should.
Yeah. So it seems to me with hiring, one other hiring question, there's kind of two camps. One camp is that you work 2 jobs essentially until you have enough work for that second person, and then you hire them. And the other camp is that you hire knowing that the work they do will be able to generate the income that pays for them. Which camp do you kind of lean towards?
I'm in the latter.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to hire because the ability to take admin stuff off of my plate allows me to step up. So I actually have an executive assistant team that consists of 3 people right now that help all of us at the top level, because it's allowing me to be with you right now on a podcast because I'm not doing something else. Allows me to be on private money phone calls for 4 to 6 hours of my day because I'm not doing admin tasks. So all of those things is allowing me to skyrocket what we're doing here. But if I was stuck in the weeds, there's no way that I would be able to be on this call with you because I'm already too busy. So we hire before we ever need it with the belief of now I can spend my time on $1,000, $10,000 activities.
Now we're there now, but 3.5 years ago, we were at the other model. It's like, I don't know
It's
what
scary.
I don't know what they're going to do. So
Yep.
why are we going to hire somebody?
Uh-huh.
And finally, 3.5 years ago was when we hired our first employee, and she worked out of our house for the first 2 weeks because we didn't even have an office yet. But that's where we started. But then we got to the point where like, man, we need to hire them now.
Yeah. And that was another lesson learned. We were scared like everybody else is scared at the very, very beginning to make that first hire.
Take the leap of faith, huh?
Yes.
It's paid off.
That's right.
All right, I'm going to defer to you now, Arthur. I know you ask a lot of questions on mindset. I'm sure they have a lot of great insights on growth mindset and entrepreneurial mindset. So I'll defer to you to ask those types of questions.
Yeah, I mean, can you guys just give us a rundown of what your routine is like on a daily basis? Like, what do you guys do? How do you prime yourself so you can stay sharp and do the things that you're doing now?
Rest is probably the biggest thing that we've learned from, because we didn't do that. You know, we went 100 miles an hour and never, ever, ever stopped. And you hit burnout no matter how young or old you are. And we're not spring chickens anymore, but you do hit burnout. So the rest it allows you to be far more productive and get more use out of your time. I think that's number one. We didn't learn it for a long time. So that was one of those lessons that, took us a while to get there. But number two, I think our favorite thing is what we call sacred 3. If you listen to Darren Hardy at all, he believes in the sacred 3. And he's like, before people come into my office, I've gotten my day is done. So he makes sure that he's in the office for his sacred 3 hours of the day to get his major projects done. So that by the time that people are walking in at 9 a.m. or whatever time it is, he's done with everything that he needed to do to get done that day. So if he does have meetings or interruptions or anything like that, he still accomplished what he needed. And that quiet time, it's priceless. We used to use weekends for that time, but that invades your rest and your joy and your quality of life. And we still use Sundays for planning. We'll spend, 1 to 5 hours planning on Sundays for the week for preparation reasons. But the better we are at that 3 hours, then that Sunday time is even, it's an hour. It's very, very small because we're being wise with our time during the week.
Gotcha. So you guys are obviously morning early risers, so you can get in the office early, get stuff done out of the way.
Yes.
What time do you get in the office usually?
Well, her office is about 30 feet from our bedroom in her house. So
I have 2.
Yeah, she has 2 offices. I have an office at the house too, but everything is here. I've got quite a setup here, and if I'm not here, I'm not in my driver's seat, and so I'll get up and I'll just jump in the shower, get in the car, and come up to the office. And so 6:30 usually. Just so that I can get in here and start working. But I mean, when we're up, she'll get up, she'll just walk right to her office and start working. It's like
pajama work. It's to start, and then I hit the shower and come in.
Yeah, I'm just stretching, and I hear click, 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 click. She's already typing.
I know you mentioned Darren Hardy, and I've read his book there, The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster, is a fantastic book. What resources do you guys do? Audiobooks? You read books? How do you consume information?
Both. So I love paper books, but the time. So Darren Hardy, what is it? Net time? Mm-hmm. No, that's Tony Robbins. So the net time is like whenever you're doing something else. So if you're driving, you could be listening to an audiobook. When you're walking your dog, you could be listening to an audiobook, and it doesn't take any extra time. It's something that you're already doing. You just stacked something else on top of it. So because of that, Audible is like I've listened to more books than ever before in my life because of Audible. It's in my car, it's on walks, it's wherever I can actually use it. And I would say over half of our team now listens to Audible for the same reason, because I've been sharing these stories. But like reading and learning and things like this are so important to us. We actually have professional development with our team. So once a week we're meeting with them, and we're usually reading a book together. The last series that we just did was actually going through a hiring predictive index. It's a tool that teaches you about your team members, their personalities, how they work, how they tick, so that you can understand. Like my assistant, she's not good with me, big picture Dani, going, here's an idea, run with it. She is a detail-oriented person. I need to give her specific instructions to be able to, for her to understand it and be effective. Those are some of the things that we learned through that last professional development. But we've read Extreme Ownership, we've read 12-Week Year, we've read Atomic Habits, and we just do it all as a team. And it's a culture piece, because they matter to us. Their growth matters to us, and it certainly matters to the company too.
With Extreme Ownership, the dynamic changed in the office, because here's a book about you need to take ownership of everything that you do. And I mean, it's funny because I got into an argument with our transaction coordinator. I said, I'm so sorry, that's my fault. She's like, no, that's my fault. I'm like, no, it's my fault. And she said, no, it's my fault.
So when you guys do the training, do you put it in the video form and you can say, okay, watch these 10 videos and then let me know what you think, or if you have any questions, or are you guys hands-on doing the training yourself, or do you have a team that handles the training aspect, especially if you've got 30 VAs, or if you got a lot of people, a lot of moving parts?
Yeah, so we if it's a book, it's chapters. So our COO is Tina Howard. She's actually virtual too. She lives in Georgia. She'll lay out a document that says we're reading this book, and chapters 1 through 4 are due, and we're going to be talking about it on this week's professional development. And so everybody's kind of on the same page. We do takeaways. We even let people, this is how we practice leadership. We let different team members host. So another Darren Hardy lesson that we learned was if you're the owners and if you're the boss, at some point people stop listening to you. You're not important. They hear you every single day. So like, yeah, you're telling me that again. If you bring somebody else in that says the exact same thing, suddenly it's like, oh, and we're sitting over in the corner going, are you serious?
Yeah, I heard that somewhere before. This is
Not again.
Yeah. So we're doing a couple things. Number one, letting everybody take turns hosting. That allows a different voice to be heard by the rest of the team. And secondly, it shows us their leadership, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't know. Are they a good leader? Do they speak well? Are they, really encouraging and motivating and inspiring the people around them? Now we go, woo, he needs to move up.
But yeah, we do it in our conference room. We have a big TV in there. We Zoom everything. So everybody is involved in all those classes.
Man, I love that. I because reading books and really processing, hearing somebody else's story, that really changes your perspective on business, how you operate. And so to be able to do that together as a team, so that you're all going through those changes together, that I can see that being huge for the growth of the team.
Agreed. They've even started some weight loss groups and stuff, because something will cue them into, everybody kind of has a weight loss journey of some kind, whether you're, 90 pounds and skinny and we're laughing, why are you on a weight loss journey? Or, you're 250 pounds. Everybody usually has a story there. So some of the books that we've read have touched on something, and somebody would share a personal story about it. And so then they're like, oh, let's have accountability buddies and we'll walk and we'll do this. It's really, up the level of team and how they bond together. It's really, really super cool.
So your training, is it just for your people that are in the office? Obviously your CEO is out of Georgia, but your VAs, are they also part of the development journey as well?
Yep.
Yes. So what's the size TV that I love in our conference room?
70 inch.
We got a 70-inch TV in our conference room. So all of us in the office will sit around the conference table, and on the TV is all these heads. And they're as much as part of that adventure and exercise as anybody else. And they get to host too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Sure. I know when I lived in Kenya, I was used to personal development coming from the States, and was very, could get podcasts and audiobooks. But in Kenya, they were just, the people I worked with were super hungry for any kind of personal development. So I could see that being a huge benefit to your VAs. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just curious, just a technicality. Are you guys paying them? So is this a paid time? This is time that they're spending together with the company. This is paid time, obviously.
This is 100% paid time. Yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, talk about ROI. That's a biggie, right? It has to do with culture. They know that we care about them. They are doing personal and professional growth, whether it be personal. Atomic Habits wasn't necessarily a professional thing to help our company. It certainly did the offset. Any small habit that you create that's a good habit is going to help us professionally too, but it was more talked about on a personal level than it was professionally. But the fact that we care about those things, it ups their love and loyalty for the company, certainly increases productivity, because we even went through Insane Productivity of Darren Hardy's.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. That is a video series, and that was huge. It was really, really fantastic. So all of that stuff helps in big ways. If you haven't read Dream Manager, that's something we're implementing this year as another culture piece, right? We care about you, Chad, and we want your professional dreams to come true and your personal dreams to come true. So we're hiring a dream manager. They're going to talk to you about your personal dreams. Your personal dreams could be owning your first house, and that dream manager, their job is to help you get down the track to actually setting the benchmarks to hit that goal. Has nothing to do with business, just you and your personal goals. That's the type of world and culture that we want to create here.
Man, yeah, that's exciting. That's huge.
Gave me some goosebumps. I need to build my team up. You guys are doing it.
I know, really.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, I was already thinking, I'm sending this recording to my assistant as soon as we're done. We got some big dreams to take care of. So I wanted to touch on, I know we could talk about real estate all day, but I wanted to, before our time starts to wrap up, I wanted to touch on your syndication and your starting that. Exactly, for people new to syndications, what is the syndication and what's your purpose in doing that?
Sure. So it was an opportunity for us because I've been raising private money for our business and our deals for 3 years now. And we've got above $10 million, probably close to $20 million. And at the stage that we're at now, we're using as much as we can, but we have leftover. And I'm like, I want to use that. And so we're getting into apartments, things like that. One of the guys that I know from a mastermind group that I'm in, he said, I do syndications. I've got a 384 unit apartment building in Florida. It's going to be a recapitalization. So the operator has already been in this building for 2 hours. It's really safe due to the COVID environment and getting out. And so I'm sitting there learning and I'm listening, and I was just like, I'd invest in that. And he said, I know you're great at raising private money. I know you've said to me multiple times, you have more money than you can use. Is this something they'd be interested in? And so I was like, sure, why wouldn't they? Like now you're an investor in the shares of owning a company that owns a building, not just a lender. So it's a totally different tax treatment. And everybody knows that taxes are the #1 expense for all of us. We all want to get those down legally and per code. This is the opportunity to do it. So I was like, oh, they're just going to be on fire about this. So I said yes, and I said I would help. I would invest and invite my investors into it. So this is our very first one. That's where Freedom Capital Group came from, because I have excess funds, and now I have no more excess funds because I've kind of split the road. And so now I'm just talking to more and more people and just finding out what their goals are. Because the other thing that I've learned in having these conversations is people love the diversification, not just between real estate and private lending. They love the diversification between real estate, private lending, and syndications and apartments. There's all these buckets that they feel like, hey, if I'm in a few of these buckets, if not all 4, then I really know that I've put my money in different places that will survive any storm that is ahead. And apartments and storage certainly were known to have survived 2008. Not like I hope we'll ever experience that again, but it's one of those things that people have that certainty. And that's a big thing, right, for everybody, certainty versus uncertainty in investments. So that's why we did it, and I'm super excited. Our first one. Woohoo!
That's awesome. Yeah. So I've talked on this podcast a lot about private lending and what a private lender gets and what the benefits are for a private lender. If somebody is an investor in your syndication, what are the benefits for them as an investor in that structure?
Sure, they're more treated as an owner than they are an actual lender. So I actually make that difference so very clear on my lender calls, because people know when they talk to me about private lending, hey, we're going to agree on a interest rate and a term, and you're going to get it no matter what. You're the bank. If I lose money, I lose money, not you. And I explain the difference here in a syndication is that you're an investor. Now you're an owner. There's different benefits and upsides of being an owner in the company that owns an asset, as opposed to being the bank and the lender. And the tax benefits, depreciation being one of the biggest. I'm not a CPA or accountant, so I don't even talk about it very much, but it's also the highest interest rates. All right. Like I only offer up to 10% on private money loans, unless I'm doing a huge, large apartment building, but the syndications are at 12% plus. Split between cash flow and equity and appreciate, all these things, factors that come into play. So, it's different. It's just one of those buckets where I'm talking to my lenders and they're going, oh yeah, I haven't done that. This is something new that I could get into, have different advantages, but still use the private lender bucket to have the more liquidity, because syndications are like 5 to 7 years from the ones I've been looking at anyway.
Sure. And with the syndication, do you do a separate syndication for each complex, or will you essentially buy multiple complexes under one syndication?
You can do both. Right now we're doing one per, because I'm leaning on the leverage of a company that's been doing it for 11 years, an operations manager that's been doing it for 40 years. So these are big players. It's very rare to see a syndication with 384 units. That's big. And we had to be tied to an operator that's been in the game, borrowing from Wall Street usually. So he's used to paying 18 to 20% to Wall Street, and he's only having to pay our investors 12%. It's a win for our investors, win for him. So that's how we're doing larger, deals with, somebody like that. So right now it is one per. I am talking to our attorney about how we kind of group this together, because I'm seeing the benefit of it and how it could help other people. It would be cool to actually buy a bunch of Ohio properties, and put them into a syndication that way. I'm just not there yet. That's business number, whatever.
2022, watch out. All right. So, where you are now, a lot of people would love to be there, or even a fraction of the success you've had since moving to Ohio. What advice would you give to investors looking to get started and wanting to get that ball rolling? Do you have any tips for them?
I do. I say, don't look at somebody's destination and pretend like you can be there tomorrow. I do it all the time. I might look at you guys and say, I want to have your success, but you were on a different path than I was. So taking that first step and not being afraid to take the first step, and leaning on other people that you're surrounding yourself with for advice and help, I think is the best advice for any new beginner, because you don't want to be scared to move forward because you see somebody talking about something that took 2008 until 2020. That's
12 years.
12 years. It took us 12 years to get here. I mean, you should never look at somebody and think that they got there, overnight. We didn't. There was a lot of pain, a lot of losses, a lot of struggles, a lot of late nights, a lot of burnouts. So that's my best advice. Just take that first step, because it's the best road I've ever been on in my entire life. And I'm so thankful that we took it and that we kept pushing through, and we surround ourselves with people like you guys.
Awesome.
And not to steal the Nike line, but it's just do it. Exactly what Dani said. Because if we would have ever questioned anything we had done and go, should we do that? We would have never done it. We just said, we need a property management company. Let's go. Yeah, we need a rehab team. Let's go. It wasn't a should we do it. It was let's just do it. And like you said, take the first step.
Awesome. And in the mastermind I run, a lot of times we talk about why we do this, why we're in this business, what our purpose is with it. And you've touched on some of that, but I always like to ask every guest on the podcast. And so for you guys, what is your why? What keeps you fired up in the morning, pushing to build new businesses and achieve even higher levels of success?
You want this one?
Well, I'll start. You can add in.
Okay.
We don't have kids. We have dogs. This is our
cute dogs.
Yeah, this is our spoiled dogs. This is our family. This is our baby. And so our why, number one, is not only to build this company and keep this company growing, but it's to be able to take care of everybody that's in here. We want to make sure that their newborn baby is going to have their parents are going to have a successful career here. So we're building that for here, but we're also doing it for us and for our families. I mean, like I said, we don't have kids to leave it to, so we're going to leave it to them. So we want to make sure that we are constantly just I mean, my why is I love being here.
Yeah, it's really about the team for us. We've always, I told my sister, probably shouldn't say this on a podcast, but I said, if I accidentally get pregnant, you have my baby until age 18. I only want to deal with adults. So this really is, it's our family, because these are adults who are looking for a job to take care of their family. And I speak that language. I want to help those people. And you have to be a good person. You have to be we talked about this before the podcast went live too. You just have to be somebody that's worthy of my time and my energy, because I'm putting it in for you. And it speaks to the mastermind that we meet up with, Chad, that these are a group of people that we're helping each other in our own backyard. Who does that? Your own backyard is your competition, right? You don't share your secrets with your competition. I just don't believe in that. I have an abundance mentality. I'm going to help whoever I can help, because it's not necessarily about money. It is, because I need to make a profit. I need to take care of me. I need to take care of him, our families. I need the money, but it's not about how far I get. It's how many people can I help along the way, because that expands. And the compound effect of who we all can help, because we're surrounding ourselves with, the right people. It's huge. So that's my why.
And what's the Zig Ziglar line about the more people that you help achieve their dreams will help you achieve your dreams?
That's true.
That's butchered completely. But there's a few Zig Ziglar lines that stick in my head. And so.
That's awesome.
You guys are very inspirational. We really want to thank you for being a part of the podcast today.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
It's our honor. Yeah, our honor to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us.
All right. So for anybody who wants to find out more information about your business and what you have going on, or specifically about your syndication, what's the best way for them to find that out?
They can go to freedomrealestategroup.com. They can also email me at Dani, DANI, at freedomrealestategroup.com. You'll get me or my 3 assistants. One of us will reply.
All right. Sharp. Okay. Well, thank you again. I look forward to talking to you again and talking to you soon. And for anybody listening, definitely check out Dani and Flip. They have a lot going on, and they really do have an encouraging spirit, and would love to help see you succeed. So, all right. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Till next time.